voice mastery. This is his 7th speech. David Bridge.
Mr. Toastmaster, guests, I want to let you know, right before I got up here today, I was in a fight. Where you have to take a great big breath, your heart goes boom, hits, the adrenaline hits your system, your skin starts tingling, your eyes pop open, almost like you're in a car accident. How many of you ever felt like that? Well, the basis for this fight was pretty much similar to a fight that we have pretty much on a regular basis with a little voice. And what do I mean by little voice? Little voice that Ed was talking about earlier, like, maybe I need another sandwich. I hope they get that on time at 1 o'clock because I got a lot of stuff to do this afternoon. I don't really want to be a public speaker anyway because it's the number one fear even above death. That little voice. Now, anytime we want to achieve goals, fulfill our objectives and potential, we'll go through 3 stages of little voice mastery. And the first stage is realizing that that little voice is there, realizing that conversation is going on. Everybody say realize.
Realize.
Once we realize that that conversation is going on, what if I fail? Well, failure is not an option. Of course failure is an option. Everybody can fail. What if you don't produce? And what if he's better? And what if that? What, you're too fat, you're too bald, you're too tall, you're too skinny. Influenced by our subconscious mind. But once we recognize that that voice is there, we can step outside of it, be objective, and instead of being affected by it, we can be a cause and influence that voice. Which then we can go to the second phase of little voice mastery. And if I said realize before, it's recognize now. Everybody say recognize.
Recognize.
Actually, I got that backwards, but anyway, recognize and realize. So now that we've realized that that little voice is not going away, that's the realization. We can learn things in attaining who we are going to be and fulfilling our objectives. Realizing that that little voice isn't going to go away, and I'll tell you why. Because anytime we want to acquire a new skill, we got to learn it. And how do we learn? We learn by making mistakes. And anytime we start making mistakes, that's when that little voice starts creeping up. You just screwed up. You messed up, realizing, recognizing what these people are going to think. What are your parents going to think? What are your kids going to think? They're taking this. Get it on. But once we recognize that that conversation is going on, and we realize that it's not going away, we can move to that third stage of little voice mastery. It was brought to my attention whenever I was watching the show, The Ultimate Fighter, about mixed martial artists. And one of the coaches was sharing a conversation that he had had with former light heavyweight and former heavyweight champion Randy Couture, also known as Captain America. Now, in his early 40s, Randy Couture was light heavyweight champion, which is ridiculous. I mean, think about it, early 40s, still fighting. But he had had a title fight and lost it by a knockout. Another year went by and he tried to regain that title and lost it by knockout again. And he had, up until that point, he'd never been knocked out. But the thing was, he was going through some financial trouble, going through a divorce, and in addition to his opponent beating him up, his little voice was beating him up too. So he retired. But in his retirement, this coach shared with what he experienced, Randy experienced in his retirement. He realized that that conversation, that little voice, was not going away. So what he had to do was resolve, everybody say resolve.
Resolve.
He had to resolve to compete with that little voice. He had to resolve to do battle with that little voice. He had to resolve to control that little voice. And in his retirement, he decided he was going to come out of retirement, convince the owners of the UFC to give him a title shot in the heavyweight class against a guy 6 inches taller, 40 pounds heavier, and 13 years younger. And a year and a month after that, from start to finish, I'm talking 8 seconds into the first round, boom, he jumped on him, dominated the fight for 5-minute rounds, and in the end had his arm raised as heavyweight champion of the UFC. I'm going to give you 3 techniques to help you master that little voice. The first one is, you can do what little kids will do. High school, professional, college athletes will do this too, and that's celebrate all wins. Everybody give me a fist bump and say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Use that as an anchor and energize your state. And once you do that every time with a little victory, you can take that and move it forward and help you achieve. And anytime you're down, you can do that fist bump and say yes. And use that as an anchor to generate a new state of energy. Second technique that I want to give you is eliminate all the negative in your life that is influencing that subconscious, which is strengthening that little negative coward voice. But instead of, it's not wholly true, you can't just eliminate, you have to replace it with positive influences, positive books, positive shows, positive people, positive courses, positive associations, positive anything. And then what you can do is strengthen that hero voice and diminish that coward voice and go from being an effect to a cause. Third technique I want to give you, I can relate it to you this way. Anytime my golf game goes in a tank, and I can't figure out why I got that duck hook going on, or the slice is going out of bounds, and I'm in a complete fog, I'm on the phone with my buddy Jack. Jack, I need an hour. That's it. And usually within 10-15 minutes, he's got me cracking the ball right back down the middle. And for the next 45-50 minutes, he's reinforcing that activity, reinforcing that kind of study, and helping me feel good about my golf game and getting me back to having some good scores. I'm going to give you a bonus technique. On top of finding a mentor and finding a coach that'll help you do the same thing, everybody will hold out your hand. I want you to picture, anytime going forward, that anytime that little voice starts chirping, just picture it right here. Don't worry about this. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This doesn't change anything. I'm still the boss of you. I want you to go stop. Do it with me. Stop. Stop. So now, take those techniques. Recognize that that conversation is going on. You can be objective and you can influence it. Realize that little voice isn't going to go away. Resolve to compete with that little voice. And then you can go from where you are, put your right foot in front of your left foot, not your right foot in front of your wrong foot. Influence your family, your friends, your community, your country. Be who you're supposed to be. Do what you're supposed to do. Have what you're supposed to have. Fulfill your potential. Achieve your dreams and objectives. And in the end, have your arm raised as champion. Everybody put your arm up. Say, I'm a champion.
I'm a champion.
Again with a smile. Say, I'm a champion.
I'm a champion.
Last time and this time, take it home with you. I'm a
I'm a
champion.
champion.